Try to remember what you had for breakfast 3 Tuesdays ago. You can't, and that's normal. Almost everything that happens to you is gone within days. The conversation you had yesterday, the road you drove this morning, the dream you woke up from an hour ago. Erased, quietly, without you noticing. But there are people walking around right now who never lose any of it. Ask them about a random date 40 years ago, and they'll tell you what day of the week it was, what they wore, what the weather did, and what someone said to them at 4 in the afternoon. They aren't guessing. They're right. It sounds like the best superpower a brain could have. It is closer to a sentence. The condition has a name: highly superior autobiographical memory. The first documented case walked into a neuroscientist's office in the year 2000. Her name in the research was patient A.J. She wrote to James McGaw, a memory researcher at the University of California, with a complaint almost nobody had ever made. She told him her memory was ruining her life. McGaw didn't believe her, so he tested her. He'd name a date, any date in the past few decades, and she would instantly tell him what happened in her own life and in the world. He checked her against old records and almanacs. She kept being correct, not approximately, exactly. What McGaw slowly understood is that AJ wasn't recalling her life the way you recall yours. You reach for an old memory and pull up a blurry summary. She didn't summarize. The day came back whole, in real time, with the original feelings attached. Every good day and every single bad one. Here's the part that breaks the fantasy. When you have a painful memory, time does you a favor. The edges soften, the shame fades. The fight you had 10 years ago barely stings now because your brain let it decay. That decay is not a flaw, it's mercy. It's how the brain keeps you facing forward. For people with this condition, that mercy never comes. Every embarrassment stays as sharp as the day it happened. Every loss stays fresh. They don't get to move on because moving on requires forgetting, and forgetting is the one thing they can't do. A J described it as running 2 screens at once, the present in front of her and the past playing on a loop she couldn't switch off. So researchers went looking for what made these brains different. In 2012, a team at the University of California studied a group of these rare individuals. They expected to find some kind of super machine for memory, a hippocampus running on overdrive. That's not what they found. On standard memory tests, memorizing word lists, random numbers, faces, these people scored completely average, sometimes below. Their gift wasn't general, it was strangely specific. They could not memorize a phone number any better than you can. But their own life, every ordinary day of it, was preserved in full. The brain scans showed something else. Several regions were structurally different, including an area tied to habit and compulsion. The same circuitry that lights up in obsessive behavior, and many of them shared a trait outside the lab. They organized things, collected things, returned to the past again and again. It's possible the memory isn't just stored, it's rehearsed constantly, without permission, which raises a darker question. Is perfect memory a power the brain was given, or a break that failed? Because your forgetting is not an accident, it's engineered. Think about what your brain actually does every second you're awake. It's flooded with detail, sounds, colors, words, sensations, far more than you could ever use. If all of it stayed, you'd drown. You wouldn't be able to think a single clear thought, because every thought would drag 1,000 irrelevant memories up with it. Forgetting is how the brain decides what matters. It throws away the noise so the signal can survive. There was a man who proved exactly this. In the 1920s, a Russian journalist named Solomon Shereshevsky was sent to a psychologist named Alexander Luria because he never forgot anything. Luria studied him for 30 years and could never find the limit of his memory. He could repeat back enormous strings of numbers, forwards and backwards, and still recall them perfectly years later. But the man could barely function. He couldn't understand poetry because every word exploded into images that buried the meaning. He couldn't recognize faces reliably because a face looked different every time the light changed, and to him each version was a separate memory. He drifted through jobs. He struggled to hold an ordinary conversation because words pulled him underwater. His memory was flawless and his life was chaos. That's the trade nobody tells you about. A mind that keeps everything is a mind that can't prioritize anything. You experience the opposite and you call it failure. You forget a name and feel stupid. You lose a memory and mourn it. But that loss is your brain doing its most important job. Building a you that can move through the world instead of being crushed under it. The version of you reading this is not a perfect perfect recording of your life. It's a heavily edited story, trimmed down to the parts that made you who you are. The forgetting did the editing. There's a strange comfort hiding in that. The bad days you can no longer fully recall, the goodbyes, the failures, the nights you'd rather not relive. Your brain is quietly carrying them away from you, a little more each year. Not because they didn't matter, because you can't keep walking forward while looking only backward. The people who remember everything would trade it in a heartbeat. McGaw's patients didn't write to him to brag. They wrote because they were exhausted. They were tired of a past that refused to fade, a yesterday that never became just yesterday. So the next time you can't remember what you had for breakfast 3 Tuesdays ago, don't feel broken. That blank space is a gift. It's your brain choosing you over the noise every single day on purpose. You were never supposed to remember everything. You were supposed to be free of it.